Yeah, he didn't ghost, and Tony, no, not at all. I mean, Myles's off-season ritual is pretty consistent the past couple years, and Myles was good in terms of communicating with us throughout the spring. So no, I know there's been a lot of conspiracy theories with that type of narrative.
Straight called Tony Grossi a conspiracy theorist. A conspiracy theorist. Remember, Tony's the same man who wasn't buying that Myles could get traded.
Andrew Berry did not walk into that press conference looking like a general manager ready to play defense all day. He walked in like somebody who had heard enough. Enough of the rumors, enough of the whispers, enough of the media trying to turn the Myles Garrett trade into something darker than what the Browns were saying it was. And the moment Tony Grossi brought up the idea that Garrett's absence, travel plans, or lack of presence might have been some kind of protest, Berry shut it down fast. Not softly, not vaguely. He called it what it was, conspiracy theory territory. That is why this moment got people talking, because Browns press conferences usually come with the same cycle. The media pushes, the front office gives the safest possible answer, everybody walks away with just enough to create another headline, and the fan base spends the rest of the day arguing about what was really meant. But this time, Berry pushed back. He did not let the question hang in the air. He did not give Tony Grossi room to build the idea that Garrett had ghosted the team or forced his way out with some behind-the-scenes stunt. Berry said Garrett did not ghost them, that his off-season routine was consistent, and that he had been communicating with the organization throughout the spring. That answer matters because it cuts against a lot of the narratives that have been floating around. After the Garrett trade, some people wanted the story to be simple. They wanted it to be Myles Garrett turned his back on Cleveland. They wanted it to be a superstar who hated being there, refused to lead, and forced the Browns into a corner. That kind of story is easy to sell because fans are hurt and angry after losing a player like Garrett. But Berry's answer did not feed that version. He made it clear that the Browns did not view Garrett's absence as some dramatic protest.
Oh, I tell you what, we're very pleased with the return we got, Tony. I mean, I think for us, getting a player of Jared's caliber, plus the pick considerations, was excellent. It's something that we certainly didn't expect coming into the spring.
And that is where the exchange with Tony Grossi becomes the center of the story. Grossi has been around Cleveland football for a long time, and he has never been afraid to ask uncomfortable questions. But this one hit a nerve because Berry seemed tired of the framing. When he said there had been a lot of conspiracy theories around that type of narrative, he was not just answering the question, he was calling out the atmosphere around the team. He was basically saying, you guys are building stories that do not match what actually happened inside the building. That's a big deal because Cleveland media is part of the Cleveland experience. Fans do not just watch games, they watch the coverage, the pressers, the reports, the rumors, and the fights between reporters and team officials. So when Berry pushes back on one of the most recognizable Browns media voices, it becomes more than a normal answer. It becomes a battle over who controls the story. Is the Garrett trade a clean football decision with short and long-term value, or is it another messy Cleveland collapse filled with hidden drama, bad relationships, and organizational chaos? Berry clearly wanted the first version to be heard. He said the Browns were not auctioning Garrett off. He said Garrett was not on the trade block in the way people were suggesting. He said this was not some primary plan going into the spring. That's important because it pushes back against the idea that Cleveland was secretly shopping him from the start. According to Berry's framing, this was a situation where an opportunity came together, the return became too strong to ignore, and the Browns had to be flexible.
I'd say this, look, I didn't expect to be up here talking about a Myles Garrett trade, Daniel. This is not my favorite thing to do because, like I said, I didn't have it on the bingo card, and I realize how strong I've been with Myles. But the reality is when you have an opportunity to do something that has strong both short and long-term benefits, we have to be flexible with it. So we're real excited from a team perspective.
Now, fans can decide whether they fully believe that or not. That is the fair part. The Browns have not exactly earned blind trust from their fan base. This is a franchise that has put fans through quarterback chaos, failed resets, strange decisions, and the Deshaun Watson gamble that still hangs over everything. So if fans hear Barry say one thing and still wonder if there is more behind it, that is understandable. But what stood out is that Barry was not afraid to push back on the media version of events. Here's the part nobody is talking about. Barry was not only defending the Garrett trade, he was defending the organization's credibility. Because once the media narrative becomes Garrett ghosted them or Garrett was protesting, the Browns look like they lost control of their best player. That makes the front office look weak. That makes the new coaching staff look like it walked into dysfunction. That makes the trade feel reactive instead of strategic. Barry shutting that down was about protecting the team's image as much as protecting Garrett's reputation. And honestly, that part is interesting, because Barry could have easily let Garrett take the blame. A lot of teams do that after a star leaves. They leak just enough to make the player look difficult. They let fans turn against the guy. They frame the move as necessary because the player was not bought in. But Barry did not really do that here. He said Garrett communicated. He said his offseason ritual was consistent. He said the conspiracy angle had zero impact. That tells you the Browns are trying to be careful not to burn the bridge with Garrett, even after trading him.
Browns media, they genuinely want to be the victim. They want it to be Myles Garrett's fault, and it's all Myles Garrett is terrible, and all woe was me Browns fans. No, dog. It just, that's not the case. The case is Myles never requested a trade. He didn't demand out. He didn't do that. He accepted a contract, and a contract, might I add.
Myles Garrett is still one of the greatest players in franchise history. Even though he is gone, he will be remembered in Cleveland. He will probably be honored one day. He may be in the Hall of Fame. The Browns do not want the final chapter of his time there framed only as bitterness and dysfunction. Barry's press conference was partly about preventing that narrative from taking over. But the media was not done. Mary Kay Cabot asked what a lot of fans were thinking. Does this mean the Browns are tanking? Could Denzel Ward be next? That is a fair question, because once you trade a Defensive Player of the Year level talent, every star player suddenly feels a little less safe. Barry pushed back carefully. He said all of Cleveland's goals are still in front of them. He praised Jared Verse as one of the best players in the league, and he made it clear this was a specific deal, not a fire sale. Here's the part nobody is talking about. Barry was also visibly tired of every Browns decision being filtered through the quarterback lens. Even during a press conference about a massive defensive trade, the quarterback topic kept coming back. Reporters asked whether the 2027 first-round pick from the Rams could eventually help solve the quarterback issue. Barry did not take the bait. He said it was way too premature. He said the team has a whole season to play and a group of players they're excited about right now. This is where it gets dangerous. If every move the Browns make is interpreted only through the quarterback lens, nothing else gets a fair evaluation. Jared Verse becomes less about Jared Verse and more about whether the team is tanking. A future first becomes less about value and more about the next quarterback class. That is the trap Barry was trying to avoid, and he was right to avoid it. Daniel Oyefusi asked the question that cut through everything. How can the Browns say they want to stay competitive and then trade arguably the best player in the NFL? Barry admitted he did not expect to be talking about a Garrett trade, but he said when an opportunity has strong short and long-term benefits, the organization has to be flexible. That is probably the most honest version of the Browns' argument. They did not plan to move Garrett, but the situation changed and the value became too significant to ignore. The legacy angle is massive. If Barry is right, this press conference gets remembered as the moment he stopped letting the media frame the Browns as confused and desperate. If he is wrong, every answer gets replayed and questioned all season long. Because in Cleveland, conspiracy theories do not grow in places where everything has gone smoothly. They grow where fans have been burned over and over again. And the only thing that truly kills those theories is winning. Everything else is just noise until the Browns prove it on the field.